Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another quick take, another game, another win. Southampton nil, Fulham 2. We are live on YouTube. I think, yes, we are. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome along. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Great day out yesterday. Great noise from the fans. Brought a lot of numbers considering the train strikes. And what a day yesterday was. Fulham winning by 2-0 over now relegated Southampton. Let's talk about the game and the consequences for both teams, and then we'll wrap up with some questions. If anyone has any comments to make about yesterday's game or about the rest of the season, then whack it down below, and we will talk all things Fulham. Was there any changes made to the last team? Who did we play last? Leicester. I don't think there was a change. Was it unchanged? It looks like it. Anyway, team news came out at 2, and everyone was like, is Mitchell going to start? Is he not? And he didn't. He didn't start. It was Vinicius. And at first, I was like, why? And then I thought about it, and then I thought, you know what, Vinicius actually sort of deserves not to just be brushed aside because Mitrovic is back. He deserves to sort of prove why he can still start Premier League games. And it was actually quite nice that both of them got the goal, Carlos Vinicius, and then Mitrovic. We'll come on to those goals individually. As for Southampton, we don't really need to talk about their team. I mean, they in terms of their lineup, but they put out 11 players like they do every week, and again lost another game of football, which means they're now relegated. The game itself wasn't fantastic. It was another game where we were playing against a team who were down there. So over the last few weeks, we've played Everton, Leeds, Leicester, Southampton. And in all 4 of those games, we haven't needed to get out of second gear, which is alarming for those 4 teams we played against because, to be brutally honest, Southampton were dreadful. You come into these sort of games. I was talking about it with Joe the other day. How does Southampton approach this game? Do they go last chance saloon, all guns blazing, let's literally give it everything we've got until the final second of the game? Or they're just going to roll over and basically passively get relegated and go down with a bit of a whimper? And it was the latter. They were so rubbish. I think I've seen them play 4 times this season, and every time I've been so unimpressed with them. A player like Shea Adams, who I don't even think made the bench yesterday. No, he didn't, and I don't know if there's any injuries there. As I don't know, but he's a starting striker for me in Shea Adams. But they went with Enochu up front. Alcaraz is probably the best player that Southampton have, with James Ward-Prowse. Sorry, and Lavia as well. That's 3 very good players who, when you pick apart the Southampton team, you go, oh, would you take anyone from their team? I think Lavia for sure. Ward-Prowse is obviously Ward-Prowse, but I don't think he offers much apart from, he's a bit of a free kick. I'm not going to say merchant, but, without his free kick, Southampton would be in a much worse state this season. I'm not sure I've seen before when he played at West Ham away. And yeah, he's physical, he's big, he's tall. He doesn't offer much. That header he had over the bar was probably one of the best chances. And yeah, the first half wasn't great, and the only chance we really had was Willian's shot, which wasn't even clear off the line in the end. It was just out. It was just inside the 6-yard area. But it wasn't one of those games where I was analysing every performance, going, "Oh God, I wonder if we're going to be at our best today." It was just end of the season, utter fun, sun shining, and no real stress. So performance was good. It was a clean sheet away from home. That's what you want. It's 15 wins this season for Fulham, which is now a record, which is a record-breaking win, hence the title. Hits 51 points. Let's talk about the goals. So when Alcaraz went through and scored, it was obviously offside. He was well off. We kicked off and went, right, we'll score a goal of our own. And was it a bit lucky? I thought Harrison Reed's tenacity to actually win the ball and make that tackle to fall to Vinicius was well rewarded, and obviously Vinicius couldn't miss from there. And I think Southampton started the half okay, but the goal completely killed them. And then we brought Mitrovic for Vinicius to a rapturous atmosphere and applause and chanting, and he loved it. And he got his goal as well. Harry Wilson playing the ball in. He like stooped his header. He was sort of falling at the same time, but managed to get his header away and went into the back of the net. 2-0. Great scenes. There isn't really an awful lot to talk about. I thought the game was pretty rubbish, but it was just good fun to be there and not having to worry. And we've been relegated by Stoke and by Watford and by Burnley, and it was nice to sort of, not in a brutal way, in a cynical way, but give it to them and sort of epitomises how far we've come to actually be in a situation where we can relegate a team in Southampton who the writing's been on the wall, ever since January, really. When they lost to us in the last minute or the 87th minute with Paulinho's goal, I did think from there they were probably going to be relegated. Should Fulham have a penalty in the first half? Perhaps. Lianco's arm was outstretched, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Solomon's chance at the end. There was a lot of people saying, there was one person that said, don't think Solomon should stay because he didn't pass it to Mitrovic. Mitrovic actually does the perfect thing here by making a run to take the defenders away, and then Solomon runs into space. It's actually a very, very clever run from Mitrovic, albeit he would have wanted the ball, but using him by not using him opens up that space, and the shot was well saved. And that was all she wrote. That was a full-time whistle. The game basically went exactly how myself and Joe thought it would. Quite comfortable. I'd have liked to see a bit more fight from Southampton. I think their fans would have liked to see a lot more fight from their team, not only yesterday, but all season. It's been an absolute disaster. 11 years stay in the Premier League. It's almost like when we got relegated in 13-14, really, because we were there for 13 years. It's been a long old stint for Southampton where they've had European pushes and where they've had European, I think, group stages. They're in the Europa League once, FA Cup semi-finals. That is a major blow to the Premier League as a Southampton fan, and I don't necessarily think that they'll bounce straight back. I think there's a lot to do. Will Ruben Sellers stay on? Who knows? But let's talk Fulham, because that's more important at this. Well, because it's a Fulham stream, obviously. Let's go through some of the comments. Final points total prediction. I think we'll probably finish on 52. I think we might draw to Palace and then lose to United, which is sad to say, but it would be nice to get that record-breaking win to get the points tally against Palace or Manchester United. But Palace are at the moment on really good form, and it will be a tough game. Adams was injured, according to the Beeb. Okay, perfect. That clears that up then. Unleashed the Mitro. Brilliant to see. Thoughts on the penalty not given yet? Another decision not gone our way since the Mitro situation. I feel like refs giving us nothing. The one incident is not going to cloud judgment of all the refereeing decisions. I just think it was one of those ones where it's not even worth really talking about. I mean, is it a handball? Maybe. Does it make a difference to any of our lives? Not really. So sorry to shut you down there, Vince, but it's not that deep. It's just if it was a game where we had to win and if that didn't go away, then we'd be speaking about it for the whole 15 minutes we're here. But it honestly just does not matter, and I don't think it's worth commenting on, really. How many of those Southampton injuries are just players not wanting to miss out on getting transferred at the end of the season? In terms of, did they get injuries in the game? I don't remember. I mean, injuries that they're in the squad. I think Southampton right now are an utter mess, and the owners put out a statement last night. The reaction was fury from the Southampton fans. There was a fans forum I watched a few weeks ago with the Southampton fans, and they were absolutely furious. And the writing's been on the wall for a while for them, and it's been a disappointing campaign for them. That's how I feel about Solomon. Feels something's been agreed behind the scenes, and that's why we're not starting him. Interesting. That's an interesting comment. I do wonder. I mean, is he more of an impact player off the bench? Is that why Silva's not starting him? Has he just dropped off his form from when he was really on it in like February and March? Or are players like Wilson and Willian undroppable at the moment? Because I think Wilson, again, was brilliant yesterday. individual performances. I thought Harrison Reed was brilliant. Vinicius, very good. Our back four didn't really have an awful lot to do. Kenny Tete was very good once again. So yeah, I think that Solomon right now is just a good impact sub, and Wilson and Willian right now are at the top of their game, which is why he's not getting a start. Which performance was worse, Saints yesterday or Villa when we beat them 3-0 earlier in the season? Okay, I suppose they're sort of similar in the circumstances. You know, they were resigned to losing Gerrard. They were resigned to relegation. I thought, given the circumstances of how Southampton were at home and they had one last push to sort of try and stay up, given that Leeds got a point on the 12:30, I thought that performance was worse. Villa was shocking when they came to our place, but now look at them now. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. In the 90 minutes, they were terrible. But there was no atmosphere at the ground yesterday. There was no moment where Southampton had a 2-minute spell, 3-minute spell where there was sustained pressure and the fans were really getting cheered up. It was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. It was really flat, and they booed at full time. But you know, if you're not going to get behind your team for 90 minutes and then you just sit and boo, I don't think Southampton fans did the players any favors yesterday, and I don't think the players did the fans any favor. I think the whole thing was just very sad and toxic, and it's been coming for a while. I hope we can hold on to Solomon. Me too. I think he's hold on a second. Solomon has a bad attitude, always looks stroppy, won't be sad to see him go. I don't see much indication of that. I see a player who's had a very frustrating injury this season, and because of how many wingers we've got, he hasn't been able to break into the team, albeit his talent is exceptional. And when he went on that spell earlier this season where he was scoring 5 and 5, he should have kicked on from there. But then Wilson woke up and Willian woke up, and Willian's been good all season. And the competition for places is rife at Fulham. And I think it's so easy and lazy to say that Solomon has a bad attitude because he doesn't look arsed. I think he does look arsed. The only thing I was wondering was after the Liverpool game where he was like he came over to the fans but didn't clap us. I thought that was slightly odd, but I don't think that he's got a bad attitude. I think he's just a young player who's trying to break it. And actually, for a first season in the Premier League, for a young player like that, given the transfer saga that happened in the summer, I think he's had a good season, and obviously he's had a very, very long injury as well. I think it's so easy just to say he's got a bad attitude just because, I think any footballer cares. And when you're a free agent in the summer and you've got people speaking in your ear like Carvalho did last season, you've got Spurs on the radar and other clubs, you're going to. It's not, you're going to get distracted by those sort of things. We'll just see. I mean, I would love Solomon to stay. I think it's a good option. If you sign him on a 4 or 5 year deal, that's a really good player who's worth a lot of money as well. So sorry to go off on one there, but I don't like it when people just say, yeah, he has a bad attitude. What indicates that at all? I thought actually, and that point, that tweet that was because he didn't pass to Mitrovic. It was actually quite clever from Solomon not to pass to Mitrovic because it opened up the space for him. Oh, well. We've got league doubles over all the bottom 4 sides and Brighton, total 5, looking to bump the tally to 6 next week over Palace. Great point. It is rare that we do league doubles in the Premier League, and obviously we haven't seen that for a while. So it's very good to see, and again, stamps the season we're having. It's fantastic. TC's been excellent since coming in. Thoughts on him starting over Pereira? Well, I mean, Pereira's injured, so TC has to start. But in terms of that through ball he played for the first goal, it was beautiful, beautiful Tom Cairney pass. And yeah, I mean, next season will Tom Cairney be playing? What sort of role will he be playing again next season? I do wonder. And if we get another new number 10 as well. Yeah, I'm growing out the beard for the summer for some reason. Fancy us against Man United. They have a cup final a few days after. They do, yeah. So may not want to pick up any injuries. Thought it may depend if they have 4th place locked up. So there could be a situation where they have to win to get Champions League football. Therefore, they'll play a strongest team. But even if they do play a strongest team, they do get desperate. We could really pick them off because I thought at Old Trafford it was our best performance of the season for the 70 minutes. We had 11 men for. So there's a real chance there. Got a load of comments today. We need to wrap up pretty soon as well. For me, the Palace game was our worst performance this season. We struggled to win 3-0 against. was our worst. We won 3-0. Okay. Where do you see Cabano in the squad next season? Yeah, like a bench player coming off the bench. There's so many wide options we have. I mean, if we keep Willian for another year, that's him, that's Wilson, that's maybe Solomon, Bobby D Cordova-Reid, Cabano, James might be permanent, maybe not, probably not. So that's 5 already. I do think we might need to buy another winger though, just to upgrade that quality. Because if you stay stagnant and you don't upgrade your squad, that's when you can start falling behind. And that's where Southampton have gone so wrong. And then they invested so much money in young players, and actually their squad's regressed over the years. Remember the days of 13-14, the season we got relegated, where Southampton came to our place and beat us 3-0, and they scored 3 goals through like Jay Rodriguez, Ricky Lambert, and Adam Lallana. And their team at the time was incredible. Like, it was so good. Luke Shaw was there. Van Dijk, I mean, Yoshida. They had some really, really good players, and it's actually, reflecting on it, you can take similarities from Southampton's relegation to ours. Like I said earlier, one thing I'll mention before we go. God, 16 minutes. I apologise, guys, but I suppose we did win the game, so it's worth talking about. The end of the game, when it's actually really quite. There was a juxtaposition. It basically is a. No, hold on. Oh, doesn't matter. So at the other end of the ground, Southampton have just been relegated. The fans are booing and doing their little lap of the stadium, and it's toxic and sad. Whereas you got the Fulham end, and it was just a really nice moment. It reminded me a little bit of when we beat Norwich in 3-1 with 10 men years ago, Carrow Road. And the fans were just like, no, sorry, the players were just like, they did their clap, and then they just stood there for a while. They just stood there and just gazed at us. And I think they were just kind of soaking in, like, it's the third to last game of the season. We've reached 51 points. I think it was a really nice moment, and Marcus Silva looked really happy, and Mitrovic back on the pitch scoring a goal, and for me will be one of my moments of the season, because it was just, everyone was just satisfied with what they've seen this season, and it's been a really special season. In fact, next week's lap of honour after the Palace game will be very, very special, because I think there'll be a lot to appreciate. The effort the boys have put in all season has been exemplary. For me personally, it's been my favourite season I've ever experienced in football. So it's just good stuff, and I'm sure everyone's very, very happy. And whether we beat Palace, draw to Palace, lose to Palace, I think everyone will stay behind and give their congratulations to Marco and the boys. And there's a lot of work that's gone in, and a lot of work to be done over the summer, because we can't stand still. We got to keep progressing. Otherwise, we'll see scenes like we saw. Well, not if we don't, we will. But we could see scenes like we saw yesterday at Southampton with us, and we don't want to be in that situation. We've got to push on now and look upwards. I think that's it for today, because the game was a bit of a non-event, really. We didn't really get out of second gear. Fulham got a clean sheet, a couple of goals. Mitrovic scored, brilliant. However, the bigger picture is that Fulham have reached 51 points, which I think is remarkable. If someone told me, a few days before Liverpool game with Riemann Tosin as their only centre-backs, that we'd be reaching 51 points, I would say they're loony. So, thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll be back on Wednesday with a Jack and Joe show, looking ahead of the Crystal Palace game. The penultimate Jack and Joe show of the season, which is very sad, but it will be one where we will look back on what's been an amazing season. So thanks so much for watching. Enjoy Super Sundays. It's going to be a cracking day of football. 4 games back to back, 2 playoffs, 2 Premier League, crucial Premier League games. And Fulham are, where are we in the table now? We've got above Brentford, haven't we? Above Brentford and on 51 points. And yeah, I mean, we could maybe finish 8th. We could maybe finish 9th. Hopefully we do finish in the top 10. I think we will. Thanks so much for watching. And yeah, come on Fulham. See you later.